It is 8 a.m. on your Sunday morning as we take a live look over CSU and northern Colorado there in Fort Collins. Thanks so much for spending part of your Sunday and weekend with us. I'm Mark Salinger, filling in dark and early this morning, waking up before I usually am. I'm usually asleep at this time still. Hey, Chris Spears is joining us for the weather today. And Chris, it's going to be one of those days that you just want to spend all of it outside. Just kind of like a repeat of the last couple days. Feels like spring out there.
Absolutely. Of course, as Chris Bianchi terms it, false spring, one of the many that we get in Colorado. And that's why we love living here and being forecasters. The weather never disappoints. We have a camera here with some cloud cover in the horizon on the view there. So you are going to see a little bit of cloud cover in terms of yesterday we had mostly clear skies. Today, some mid and high level clouds. That's really the only difference. The temperatures will be very similar. Teens and 20s pretty much all across our mountain locations. When you get out onto the plains, we already have some 40s showing up now that the sun is up and we are starting to warm. There's a little weak storm system to our south. It stays down there and keeps moving east, but we are getting some cloud cover on the northern fringe of that and a couple of light snow showers in the higher terrain outside of Alamosa and Trinidad. This is the story. It's an incoming storm. Right now it's around San Francisco. It races inland tonight. It enters Colorado tomorrow, and it's going to impact our weather through the day Monday, but especially Tuesday. That's kind of the day to really hone in on. 64 in Denver, scattered clouds, mostly sunny. As that storm comes in, Mark, it's prompting us to put Tuesday as a weather impact day. I have a lot of details to give you in the full forecast coming up.
Yeah, we'll enjoy this weather while we have it and look forward to Tuesday as well. Chris, thank you. New this morning, Denver police are currently investigating a shooting west of Pena Boulevard. We first learned about it around 3 a.m. It's happened on East Green Valley Ranch Boulevard. As of right now, one victim has been hospitalized. We currently don't know the severity of those injuries. Officers are now seeking information about any potential suspects. We're learning more this morning about a shooting in a Kin Soopers parking lot in Monument, Colorado. The shooting happened on Friday. Investigators now believe that this was a murder-suicide. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office says a man shot into a car in the parking lot, killing a woman inside. He then drove away. Detectives later found the man's car around 15 miles away from that original site after a reported suicide there. The Sheriff's Office says they believe the man and woman knew each other. The incident is still under investigation this morning. Developing right now, authorities are investigating a small plane crash in Elbert County. The Elbert County Sheriff's Office says it happened near the city of Madison about midday on Saturday. They say a small single-engine aircraft carrying one person went down. Authorities have confirmed that that person on board did die in the crash. Still not word on how this happened. The NTSB and FAA are still investigating right now. I want to show you video of a scary moment caught on camera in New Jersey this weekend. A FedEx cargo plane caught fire shortly after taking off from the Newark airport. Video from the ground shows flames shooting out of the right engine. The company and airport officials say the plane hit a bird shortly after takeoff, causing that fire. The pilot declared an emergency, turned around and made a safe emergency landing back at Newark, where of course the airport's fire trucks surrounded the plane. Luckily, no one was hurt. Yesterday also marked 1 month since the deadliest U.S. aviation disaster in decades. 67 people were killed when a military helicopter collided with an American Airlines jet over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. The flight was carrying members of the U.S. figure skating community who had just returned from a national championship in Wichita, Kansas. We're now hearing from first responders who were on scene that day and that evening.
You know, having some years of experience and seeing a lot of things, you know, that night, it's some of the worst things imaginable. It was one of those situations where it didn't seem to stop. It just, because of the sheer volume, the number of people, the area, the debris field.
Authorities are still investigating the exact cause of that crash, but NTSB officials believe the helicopter's pilots may not have heard air traffic controllers giving them instructions or warnings before the collision. The NTSB says it'll likely take more than a year to get a final report on this crash. Moving to politics now, the fallout continues around the world this weekend following a meeting in the Oval Office that turned into an explosive confrontation between President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky was in Washington to discuss a deal over U.S. access to Ukraine's minerals. It was a deal that Trump intended to be a sort of repayment for U.S. assistance to Ukraine over the past few years. Ukraine was hoping for future security guarantees. Instead, It turned into a shouting match. President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance chastising Zelensky, telling him he wasn't grateful enough to the United States.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
NBC News reports minutes after this Oval Office meeting, Zelensky was asked to leave the White House. A private lunch and joint press conference later in the day were also canceled. For Coloradans with loved ones in Ukraine, it's been difficult to watch the shifting political tides. We caught up with one group we've talked to several times since the war started. They told our Colton Chavez this Oval Office story is both frustrating and distracting from what's important.
This is actually Igor. He's one of our staff.
The nonprofit Ukraine Orphan Outreach says their big picture has always been to help children in Ukraine.
He drives a lot of the kids to to go swimming or go to the movies, and then he goes and visits the orphanage.
In the 3 years since Russia invaded Ukraine, war has changed a lot of these pictures.
Pictures of some of the kids that were in the Kramatorsk orphanage, which now, of course, they've been evacuated out of Kramatorsk because it's in the east. And this is a farm that we helped finance in the West.
Chris Stace started the nonprofit back in 2007. She fears things will only get worse after a meeting between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky went south.
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this.
It was really sad. Sad in that, you know, they're adult men and the way they were treating one another. We all know it was Russia that invaded Ukraine, and Ukraine, all they want is for Russia to leave. That would be our ceasefire.
She says it would be the end of a war.
But that's what makes it hard, is we know these people personally. You know, we've seen their loss.
And the start of a new photo album, this time filled with pictures of hope.
Whether that's, you know, the war is indeed over and Russia's not going to be returning, or, you know, just that these kids and all the adults feel the support of America, that we're going to get through this together.
In Berthoud, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
The nonprofit says they're planning a trip to Ukraine over the spring. Making national headlines in Washington again with the stroke of a pen, President Donald Trump signed yet another round of executive orders on Saturday. The president signed an executive order titled Designating English as the Official Language of the United States. In an announcement from the White House, the policy is said to encourage the learning and adoption of English, as well as empower new citizens to achieve the American dream. That's how they're branding this one. President Trump also signed a second executive order titled Immediate Expansion of American Timber Production. Again, according to the White House, the administration believes it is vital to increase domestic timber production to protect national and economic security. President Trump is set to receive a routine physical next month. This will mark Trump's first physical in his second term. In a statement Saturday, his doctor says the routine exam will take place at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. The exact date has not yet been released. At 78, Trump is among the oldest presidents of the nation, second only to former President Joe Biden. Trump would also be the oldest president in history at the end of his second term. Looking ahead to next week, make sure to join NBC News for special coverage of President Trump's joint address to Congress. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, right here on 9 News.